privilege and great honor to welcome you to the African Judges Legacy Project for this conversation. And we welcome you, Justice Mumba, the first woman appointed to the High Court of Zambia and serving on international courts in The Hague, in Arusha, and in Cambodia. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
It's especially meaningful for me because I was just in Zambia in 2019 and met your wonderful, terrific Chief Justice who invited me to your judicial conference.
That was wonderful.
And then I've been doing training in Zambia of magistrates and lawyers and judges on mediation. Just finished 2 courses there. So Zambia is very close to my heart.
Oh, that's wonderful to know.
Yeah, yeah. And I also did training in The Hague, in Arusha, and in Tanzania. And I know the challenges that you faced in those courts. And that's why I'm so in awe of you. So going back, I want to now talk about your early years and your childhood, how you grew up, your parents only going to primary school, but believing in education. How did they inspire you to be who you are today?
My parents, yes, as you have said, they only had primary school education. My mother in particular had wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to complete her education and to become a teacher. But because her mother went blind early in her life, so she had to go back home in the village to help raise her siblings. So my mother was very keen on education and always telling us that it was important for girls to get educated, that just as it was important for the boys. So all of us, there were 6 of us, and my father too always insisted, was always ready to help us with schooling and telling us that when you get educated and you complete your education, that's when you start enjoying life. So there was that hope that, it would be okay if we all go through school. Having been born in a village, it was difficult to start school because the school was quite far. It was 3 kilometers away, about that. So I sort of started school late. Yeah, when I was after 7 years, because that's when I was able to walk those 3 kilometers every day to go to school. But all the same, we just went on, and my mother would be always encouraging, because having started late, she had started teaching us how to read and write. So at least when we went, my late sister and I, because I'm number 2 in my family, my late sister and I were together. So we started school together, formal school together. So yeah, we were encouraged and always supported. And my mother was one parent who always met our teachers to find out how we were doing, to make sure that she was keen to get her daughters educated. Yes.
Yeah. And so even though you were a late bloomer, you were an amazing bloomer, because you then went on to continue your education, and you were encouraged to go to college and to explore and to find your way. And eventually you found your way to law. How is it that you decided law would be your passion?
What happened was that when I completed my secondary level education, which was O-level, our form teacher told us that it would be good to go to the university. I was in a girls' school, a girls' secondary school, boarding school. So he advised us that it would be good to go to the university. And when you're at university, you'll be able to decide what you want to do eventually. So I was very keen on theology. I was very good at religious knowledge lessons, and we had those classes up to O-level. So when I was going to university, I wanted to study theology. So when I went to the university, I found that they didn't offer that. So I went around and started asking, what else can I do after my first year? And then I found the law school was open. So I decided to join the law school, because in my mind, I was saying, I know enough geography, I know enough history, I know enough mathematics. I think this is a new field. Let me go in. And when I just went on the lineup to register, I saw a lady who was already in her second year. So I just went to her to find out what it is like to study law. And yeah, she gave me the information, and very encouraging.
And there was the head girl at your school had become a lawyer. And so
Yes.
that was something that inspired you. And also the status of women in Zambia, what impact did that have on you as you looked at the village, as you went through the system, the way women were treated? How did that affect that decision?
Yes. In the village, and when we moved even to the urban area, when my father was able to find employment, women were always discouraged. And when I decided that I would go beyond the secondary school, people were asking me, what do you want? You have enough education, you can work, you can. And then I had my friends who also didn't go to university, decided to start working. So there was that pressure that what are you going to do to university? You are wasting your time. But my mother and my father was always like, when you come back from wherever you've been in the home, they would say, no, go ahead. Since the university is open and you are able, you are qualified, just go ahead and study. So I would look to these people who are ahead of me, and also Judge Sakunda. Yeah, now I remember. Judge Sakunda had studied law in the UK. She's the current president of the Comesa Court in the regional court in Africa. So when I looked at her newsletter, when she was depicted by the newsletter in Muflira, so I said, oh, so it's possible. There's already another Zambian who is already in the UK studying law. So I felt more confident that I could study law. And when I went into the first year law school, some of my friends were saying, oh, but some of the guys, the boys do fail. How are you going to cope? I said, I'm looking at those who have passed their first year. And then I work hard and pass.
That's
so
right.
It was really, challenging, but pushing myself forward.
Yeah, I love your phrase, looking not to those who failed, but to those who passed. And
Yes.
the imbalance in Zambian society, the way women were not given opportunities, you always believed that was unfair, that women were not treated well. And when you then moved to your position in law, you took an interesting path. And I want to talk about that early career of yours, because you ended up working for the Ministry of Justice, defending criminal people charged with crimes, going into the prisons. And then ultimately you became the head of legal aid, the second position you took, helping women, defending criminal defendants. It must not have been easy, because there were not women in those fields. Tell me about your challenges in those positions.
Yes, my early career, starting from the legal aid department. This is a department where government lawyers were defending litigants who couldn't afford private lawyers' fees. So in my class, having been the only woman, so when I started, again, I was the only woman practicing law at that time. So whenever I went to prison to get instructions, most of the criminals, the suspects were men. They felt discouraged and were like teasing me, thinking that I didn't know what I was doing. And others were polite. And when it came to women suspects, those respected me and they would listen. And mostly they were like middle-aged. They were older than myself. So they were quite calm. They were listening to me. And when I faced the magistrates' courts, some magistrates were encouraging, others were teasing. Even in court, our court proceedings are public. So sometimes I would get discouraged, but then I would think, well, it's the same problem that you have a magistrate whose mentality is that women should not go in this profession. So I would go ahead and work hard. My boss at the Department of Legal Aid, our head of section, always said, the most important thing is to prepare your case thoroughly, get instructions thoroughly, and then you'll be able to meet with the questions in court. And that's the path I took. It wasn't easy to convince male accused persons to tell me the truth so that I could give them advice whether or not their case was strong or weak, because they were suspicious. And also, it was new for them to have a woman getting instructions from them. And some of them would even ask me, oh, you've been told that I'm a criminal. Are you not afraid of me? they would ask such questions. And I would say, oh no, we are in prison and it's peaceful. And I just wanted to know what you did, what led to you being here in prison, that sort of thing. So I was trained to have this approach to win their confidence instead of, getting agitated by their own approach. So that way, slowly, in the end, yes, they gained confidence, and I also gained confidence when I took the cases to court. Sometimes I got them out, sometimes they got convicted, and we would go and mitigate and things like that. So over the years that I was working directly with these accused persons, and also in civil cases, all sorts of litigants, especially women, it gave me confidence because I was learning how to handle people directly by representing them and also discussing their cases. So I always say that was a good beginning for me because it threw me right in the arena of dealing with people and their cases and trying to interpret the law and apply it to their situation so that they could understand and so that they could be encouraged to get their cases to court and get through with it.
Got you ready for the next thing that I really want to talk about as well, which was being the first woman on the High Court of Zambia.
Oh, it was quite funny when I went there. Even things like toilet rooms, there were common toilet rooms for the rest of the workers, and yet for the male judges, they had their own toilet facilities for judges only.
And went to the Office of Ombudsman, which was investigating the government, investigating government agencies. Why?